If you're ready to explore the Hebrew roots of your Christian faith, then grab your Bible and let's get started. Shalom. Thank you for coming back for Tuesday night Torah studies. I'm telling you, I think my words are so complicated on today because I'm at the point where I'm so thankful that it's hard to identify what words to say because of what Yehovah has done and continue to do in my life. I just was thinking about this as I was getting prepared for tonight, that how thankful that I am, how thankful that for this day, at this moment, at this time in my life, I can see some things that he's been talking to me about for years ago happening in my life. So I'm thankful I'm hoping that each and every last one of you are able to take the moment out and think about what some people would say, smell the roses, to be thankful about what the hand of God has done, how his hand has always been with us. Some say the finger of God been with us. Sometimes I feel like we should have a day of testimony. I don't know, but you don't even have to wait for that. You can put your testimony in the comments and share with the family of what Yehovah has done for you. And one day I'm going to share my huge testimony of why I'm so thankful. And we all have our testimonies. We all have our testimony, because what end up happening is that we're so busy in life, so busy doing things and going here and that. Let me speak about myself. Sometimes I'm so busy in my life that I'm moving and doing. I pray. I study the word all the time. And you do those things, which is good. But sometimes it catches me off guard that I just got to, I don't think there's a word that I can say or a word I can think in my head can satisfy how thankful that I am of who he is. Just who he is a lot. And I'm so thankful. So, welcome to Reconcile the Kingdom, where we are working towards growing in harmony, the whole word of truth. My name is Patrice Robinson, and I appreciate every last one of you who are able to join me on this live premiere and those who will be joining me on the replay. I have to take a time out to say thank you to all the returning subscribers, all of you who consistently support me, all of you who also share the link. I am so thankful for you. And the first time subscribers, the new subscribers, welcome. Thank you for joining me and allowing me to be before you. Thank you all actually for joining me on this journey in this ministry. I really appreciate it. To all the visitors, are you ready? Are you ready to join the family that does not mind searching the scriptures? A family that does not mind challenging the religious system teachings that we have been under for hundreds of years? A family that's ready to making sure that they are dedicated lifetime students of the Bible and ready to explore the Hebrews of your Christian faith. There is a difference in the depths of understanding the word of Yehovah. All of you that have been with me for a while, most definitely can recognize the difference. And even some of the newcomers are learning, the new subscribers are learning about the difference. So what it is, how do you join this family? Easy. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget the bell, because the bell lets you know when I'm live, any updates, any announcements that come from this ministry, especially the community tab on YouTube. I've been trying to let you know where the teaching's coming from on Tuesday nights and what passage we're going to be coming from on Sabbath day. So I'm trying to keep up with that. It's a lot to keep up with, all these social medias, things like that. So I'm most definitely trying to keep up with that. So hopefully you was able to get that information that we're on Exodus chapter 8 on today. We are still in the book of Exodus. This book here is a very interesting book, and it's a lot in it. And so we're taking our time slowly going through the book of Exodus. So let's talk about how you can support this ministry continuously to help us grow the family, and get involved in other things that you can help with. So one way of supporting this family is, of course, not only by subscribing, hitting that subscribe button, but making comments. Send an emoji, ask questions. All of those are important because this is how we communicate as a family. And share the link. Share the link when you are watching me live, when you're watching me on the replay, because we know share the link is good, because if you learning something, someone else can learn something. And what better gift to give a loved one, a friend, someone who's searching for the word of Yehovah, than to be able to link them to some sound biblical teaching without the tradition of man. That is a great gift. So give me a thumbs up if you are getting something out. Any of the content that I'm sharing with you, any insight, any light bulbs that are coming on. And I also welcome those who do not agree, and that you can put in your respectful comment. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Spotify, and YouTube podcast. We're on there. Most definitely, YouTube podcast has been something different. I know that I'm not consistent with everything because it's so much, but I do my very best. Now, for the digital online shop, it has changed. The many of you that has been with me for the past 3 or 4 weeks, I've been explaining to you that the shop was closing. The platform I was using has been brought out to another buyer, and I had 2 that I was picking from platforms to continue selling the workbooks in individual Bible companions as a tool for you to invest in your spiritual journey. These tools most definitely are helpful because it reminds you to do the word studies on your own, and your cross-reference and ask questions inside how to apply. It reminds you to do those for every chapter, because there's something in every chapter, because the Bible comes together as whole. Now, the 2 platforms that I was choosing from, I did not pick neither one of them because I had some concerns about what happened with this platform I just left, or leaving on the 31st. And so I decided that Etsy will be a better platform because it fits it is not like the other 2 platforms. That's the best way I can say it. Because sometimes when you go from one platform to another, there's all these extra fees. And by me moving to Etsy, all the books, all the workbooks, and individual Bible companions, all those will remain at the same price. I don't have to raise any prices. Everything can remain the same. And I can just move things better on Etsy than the other platforms because the way I was using the previous platform. Hopefully this is not too much for you, but most definitely visit me on Etsy. I am slowly getting things over there. I do know I did put up all the Torah books, Judges and Ruth. So because those are the lessons that we have done on the YouTube channel that you can use those workbooks for. So go over to Etsy, take a look at those things, and it's called the RK Biblical Studio on Etsy, and you can find me there. So that's update about that. And I know we do not have the donate in the love jar. We don't have to worry about that right now. I will figure those things out later. So thank you for your patience as I'm going through these changes, and be patient with me. Sometimes I even send out the emails to the ones who on the email who wants updates about things. So if you're one of those who like to have the updates before we come live or anything like that, just let me know. there's an email in the description box that you can send an email to, and I can add you on that notification. So all these ways that we just spoke about as a way of supporting the ministry, you can find those things in the description box. Yes, the Etsy link is in the description box. It's also on the Pinterest and all those other areas too. So must definitely show some support to the ministry in those fashions and those ways. And you can find that again in the description box and take a look at that, doing a live and also doing a replay. Once again, we are in Exodus. What I think we should focus on right now is reminding you that you have an opportunity to ask questions about the teaching that we presented today. Remember, we're in Exodus chapter 8, and we will go through Exodus chapter 7, because we always take a look at the previous teaching before we go on, because it all connects. So make sure you have your Bible before you, all the writing utensils you need. Hopefully you have the Exodus workbook. If you don't, go over to Etsy and purchase it. And most definitely have your pen and paper if that's all you have. So let me answer these questions about the Exodus workbook or any workbook, because it's laid out for you. It has all the chapters, all the key points that you can put in. It reminds you to do a word study. It reminds you to cross-reference questions and how to apply it and the insight. Just want to remind you the reason why I designed this. And you have the Christian understanding of Exodus under the Pentateuch. You also have the Hebrew roots understanding of the Torah, Shemot, and these are the names. So it will have those who are new to the Hebrew roots to understand that information also. So let me pull up my sheet for Exodus chapter 7, which is what we're about to go over on tonight. And stick with me. And I know there's a lot going on tonight, so just stick with me. All right. We're now going to go over Exodus chapter 7. These are my key points, quick and simple. Okay. Many people can argue about Pharaoh's heart. Why his heart was already hardened from the onset, from the beginning. So why do Yehovah need to harden it any further? Because the nation is facing judgment. We have to keep that in mind as we are going through the first beginning chapters of Exodus. I think all the way to Exodus probably 13 or 14. This is judgment. The nation of Egypt is facing condemnation for their enslavement and mistreatment of the children of Israel. So at this point in Exodus chapter 7, Moses is now a god to Pharaoh, and we have Aaron, his brother, as a prophet. So Moses is the mouthpiece that's coming from Yehovah, and then Moses speaking to Aaron, and Aaron is the one that speaks to Pharaoh and the other people. And we had two incidents that happened. We had Aaron's rod that turned into a snake, able to swallow the magician's rod that actually turned to a snake, which was a show of authority and power. This is not a plague. This is just showing the authority and the power of Yehovah. Now, the first plague is the water turning to blood. The magicians, the sorcerers of Egypt were able to do the same. But I want to point out about this experience of the water turning to blood, because this is not the only place we see this. This water turning to blood as a judgment is first seen here in Exodus. And guess where else do we see this? In the book of Revelation. If you go into Revelation, in Revelation chapter 16, this is the 6 bowls of the wrath of Yehovah is poured out. Remember, Yeshua is saving us from the wrath of Yehovah. So this is the 6th bowl that's been poured out. So I'm going to read Revelation 16, verses 3 through 6. You must read the entire chapter on your own. Verse 3, and the second angel pulled out his bowl into the sea, and it turned to blood like that of the dead, and every living thing in the sea died. And the third angel poured out his bowl into the rivers and springs of water, and they turned to blood. And I, this is John speaking, heard the angel of the water saying, Righteous are you, O Holy One, who is and was, because you have brought these judgments. For they have spilled the blood of saints and prophets. You have given them blood to drink as they deserve. So this plague of water turning to blood is a judgment call, which we will see that what we read about in the book of Revelation. So my insight, here we have the work of Elohim able to bring divine blood that has not come from any animal. This blood's not coming from any animal or any human. This is actually the power of Yehovah. Again, what we read about in the book of Revelation. I also want to bring your attention to, if you notice that the Egyptians had to dig for water for themselves. There was the slaves, well, the Hebrew slaves were not digging water for the Egyptians. They had to do hard labor on their own. My question, from which body of water did the children of Israel drink from? Since the Nile and some of the springs and everything had turned to blood, my question, which may not get answered, is which body of water did the children of Israel drink from? So I have my cross reference. There was no word study from last week. And as usual, I will leave my sheet up for a while to give you opportunity to ask questions. And also, I want you to share your comments, your thoughts, your insight, any questions that you may have about Exodus chapter 7 of what we talked about on today. And we're going to hit the book all straight on ahead to Exodus chapter 8, verses 1 through 7. And Yehovah spake unto Moses, Go unto Pharaoh and say unto him, Thus said Yehovah, Let my people go, that they may serve me. If thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs. And the rivers shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and from into thy house, into thy bedchamber, into thy bed, into the house of thy servants, upon thy people, into thy ovens, unto the kneading those, which is bowls. And the frogs shall come up both on thee, upon thy people, and upon thy servants. And Yehovah spake unto Moses, saying to Aaron, Stretch forth thy hand with thy rod over the streams, over the rivers, over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up on the land of Egypt. And Aaron should stretch out his hand over the waters of Egypt. And the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt. Now, this is the second plague. Remember, the first plague is the water turned to blood. This is the plague of the frogs. And Aaron and Moses followed Jehovah's instructions. Aaron stretched forth his hand and his rod all over all the waters of the land of Egypt, and the frogs came from every body of water for the streams, the rivers, and the ponds. His rod over all the waters. Okay. Now we also read how the magicians, the sorcerers, and all those enchantments from Egypt were able to do the same thing. So now what we have going on in the land is the frogs that came up by Aaron, and then the frogs that came up by the magicians in the land of Egypt. So that was most definitely a lot of frogs that they had to deal with. Verse number 8. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Entreat Yehovah that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go, that they may do sacrifice unto Yehovah. And Moses said unto Pharaoh, Glory over me, when shall I entreat for thee, for thy service, for thy people, to destroy the frogs from their houses, and that they may remain in the river? And He said, tomorrow. This is Pharaoh. He said, tomorrow. And he said, be it according to thy word, that thou mayest know that there is none like Yehovah our Elohim. And the frogs shall depart from thee, and from thy houses, and from thy servants, and from thy people that shall remain in the river only. And Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried unto Yehovah because of the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. And Yehovah did according to the word of Moses. And the frogs died out of the houses, out of the villages, out of the fields, and they gathered them together upon heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart and hearkened unto them, as hearkened not unto them, as Jehovah had said. So here we go, Moses again before Pharaoh. You know, this was not going the way he hoped it would. So the musicians was able to call up them frogs, but Pharaoh didn't go to the magicians and ask them to get rid of the frogs. He called Moses and Aaron. And why? The magicians, we have to recognize the difference. The sorcerers, the wizards, and all of them use magic from this other kingdom, the kingdom of the world. This, what they're doing is not from the kingdom of Yehovah. They're going through another door, another dimension, in another spiritual world. They're unable to get rid of the frogs, and this is why Pharaoh had to call on Moses and Aaron. So it was Moses that called Yehovah and asked him to help. So we have to recognize that Moses is like God. So he's talking to Yehovah, and Aaron is the mouthpiece. He is the vessel, and he is a prophet. So he's following those instructions that Moses is giving into him. Now, the frogs did not return back to water where they came from. Instead, they just died where they were. And so the people had to gather the frogs, and there were so many frogs, it was heaps, and the land stank. It was a horrible smell. Now, if anyone asks this question, do we think that Yehovah was surprised about what the Egyptians was able to do? Well, their magicians, their sorcerers was able to do. Was anyone surprised that anyone thought this Yehovah was surprised at what they were able to do? Of course not. He knew they wasn't a match. This is why he was able to do it. That's why he did what he did. You know, so many people don't believe or think they can control things from the one Elohim who created the heaven and earth. We're no match for him. He knew everything before he created it. He knew how everything was going to happen. This is why he was making ways to save us. Because if you left it to the enemy, if the enemy was able to defeat and everything, we will be worse off than what we are. So after all of this had happened, Pharaoh hardened his heart. He hardened his heart. So this is my thinking, that he said, okay, everything's cleaned up. I don't have to keep my word. So my musicians could do the same thing that they do. They can move on. They I don't have to keep my word with them. So this was my thought of how Pharaoh was thinking. This is why he didn't hold up his word. But did you notice that when Moses came to him, he said tomorrow? That's back in verse 10. He said this. I'm going to repeat it. He said tomorrow. This is Pharaoh. He said tomorrow. And then Moses said, be it according to that word, thou mayest know that there is none like Yehovah Elohim. Now, why did Pharaoh say tomorrow? I mean, technically, he could have told Moses today. He could have told him right now. And maybe the relief would have been happening sooner. I just was thinking that why did Pharaoh say tomorrow? Did he think that there was some type of ritual sacrifice or process that Moses had to take. I don't know. Maybe he was thinking in that particular way. I don't have an answer for that. Verse 16. And Yehovah said unto Moses, say unto Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so. For Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in men and in beasts, and all the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And the musicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon man, upon beast. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of Elohim. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as Jehovah has said. Here we go. We have the third plague, the plague of the lice. This time, if you notice a difference, Moses and Aaron did not go before Pharaoh. Jehovah just told Aaron to stretch out his hand, and the lice would come out of the dust of the earth, and it covered man and beast. They were everywhere. The lice were everywhere. And for the very first time, the magicians were not able to bring forth anything, no lice at all. And they realized that this was a whole nother level that they could not handle. This is all done by the hand of the Almighty. This, of course, caused problems for Pharaoh, because now he's not in control. His magicians can't do the same thing. That means I feel defeated and embarrassed, and he hardened his heart. How many times have you read in the Bible about the finger of Yehovah? I want to bring it to your remembrance. Just two scriptures. Psalms 8:3. When I behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place. That's amazing. We don't pay attention to the finger of God until we actually read things. Now, let's see what Yeshua said. So we talked about how the Pharisees told Yeshua that he was casting out demons by the power of Beelzebub. We read that in Matthew. But tonight, in Luke chapter 11:20, in that same event, he says this to them. But if I cast out the demons by the finger of Elohim, then the kingdom of Elohim has come up on you. So I'm hoping that you understand that in the book of Exodus, we're seeing the kingdom of Elohim in action as we are reading this. Of course, there's going to be some changes in the kingdom, and we will get there as we continue well later in the chapters, and I will remind you when we get there. But we're seeing the kingdom of Elohim in action. I just find that very fascinating, and I'm thankful that I have opportunity to understand this and read this. I am just a happy person right now. Verse 20. And Yehovah said to Moses, rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he cometh forth to the water, and saying to him, thus said Yehovah, let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou wilt not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies upon thee, and upon thy servants, upon thy people, and into the houses, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground whereon they are. And I will severe it in that day in the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there. To the end thou mayest know that I am Yehovah in the midst of the earth, and I will put a division between my people and thy people. Tomorrow shall this sign be. And Yehovah did so, and there came a grievous swarm of flies unto the house of Pharaoh, and to his servants' house, to all the land of Egypt, and the land was corrupt by reason of the swarm of flies. This time, now we've been reading about all three of the plagues, right? But this time, Yehovah speaks of a division of his people. Now, does this mean that the past three plagues that the children of Israel or the Hebrew people, did they experience the water turn to blood for 7 days? Did they experience the frogs and the lice? Because the swarm of flies is the fourth plague. So did they experience that? If so, I never paid attention. I've always thought there was a difference from the beginning. Now, this is a big question, because throughout the plagues, Jehovah has spoken about the servants of Egypt who's still going to be experiencing this. We still read it here with the swarm of flies, but this is the only place so far since the plagues have started, we're on the fourth plague, that we notice that he placed a difference, a division mentioned between Goshen, where the Hebrew people lived, and Egypt. So share your thoughts, or were you thinking the same thing for me from the very beginning, that there's a difference, or you're going leaning more to the side now there's a difference and a separation between Egypt and the children of Israel? There's no right or wrong answer. Just share your thoughts. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts. No one's gonna make fun of no one. We're adults, well, hopefully. And if you're a child, I'm okay with you sharing your thoughts too. So share. Tell me what's your thoughts about that. So when the first play began all the way to now, there's a difference, or where there's a difference always from the beginning. All righty. So we are now on verse number 25 of Exodus 8. And Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron and said, "Go ye sacrifice to your Elohim in the land." And Moses said, "It is not meet so to do, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to Yehovah our Elohim. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abominations of the Egyptians before their eyes, and they would not stone us? We will go 3 days and a journey to the wilderness and sacrifice to Yehovah our Elohim as he shall command us." And Pharaoh said, "I will let you go, that you may sacrifice to Yehovah Elohim in the wilderness. Only you should not go very far. Entreat from me." And Moses said, "Behold, I will go out from thee, and I will entreat Yehovah that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people tomorrow." Another tomorrow? "But let not Pharaoh deal deceitfully anymore in not letting people go to sacrifice to Yehovah." And Moses went from Pharaoh and entreated to Yehovah. And Yehovah did according to the word of Moses, and he removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. There remained not one. And Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time also. Neither would he let the people go. Here we go. Pharaoh still doesn't want to let the people go, but he wants them to make sacrifices in the land of Egypt. And Moses said no. Because what the Hebrew, whatever they do, the Egyptian considered an abomination. And what you going to do? We start sacrificing, you're going to start stoning us? The request remains the same. Let us go 3-day journey into the wilderness, and that the sacrifices will take place there. Pharaoh's like, "Go ahead, go in the wilderness, but don't go too far." Moses agreed and said, "Do not change your mind again after the swarm of flies is gone." However, what happens again? The swarms are gone. Pharaoh hardened his heart. Now, this should be a clue. This should be a clue to Moses, because Yehovah told Moses that when you leave Egypt, that Pharaoh is going to drive you out. He's not going to be this hardened heart and you can go, not go, you can go this far, don't go this far. He's going to drive you out. So Exodus chapter 6 verse 1, this is what Yehovah told Moses. Now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh, for because of my mighty hand, this is the hand of Yehovah, this judgment that we see in through the plagues, he will let the people go. Because my strong hand, he will drive them out of his land. He's not going to want you to come back. He wants you to go and take everything with you. And this is what we're waiting to get to that point. I hope you learned something today. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave out of here. I don't see any questions or comments that I need to address on tonight. Remember, you can submit those questions in the comment box if you want me to address those. You can make any statements, any questions or anything, and I will address those again. Now, hit the subscribe button before you go. Give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to join me on Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. We will be on episode number 5 of What Did Yeshua Teach? I think that's going to be John chapter 8. I have to make sure. I will also make that announcement in the community tab. Please take a look at that. And on Tuesday next week, we will be at Exodus chapter 9. We are going through additional plagues. And I really appreciate every last one of you who joined me on tonight. And of course, those who are going to be joining me on the replay, you all most definitely greatly appreciate it. As always, man does not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yehovah. I'll pray that you have a blessed rest of the week, and I will see you on Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. Thank you for your support. Thank you.